Hello, everybody. Believe your eyes and your ears. It is me, Dustin Coyle. This is a new episode, no shitting, of Intelligent Thoughts. It's been 2 months since our last UFC-related episode. That's what we're going to bring to you today. This is episode 38, UFC Long Island Preview. UFC Long Island, also called UFC on Fox number 25, UFC Weidman versus Gastelum's taking place, I don't know, probably here in like 6 or 7 hours. Probably less than that, actually, if you want to count the undercard. We're not going to talk too much about that. Just kind of trying to get some wheels underneath me here and get back into the podcasting game. I'm sorry about the hiatus, the MIA status for me over the past couple of months as far as that's concerned. Only been about a month since I've done a podcast, The Daily Wager, if you remember. I think I just got overworked a little bit, working too much. Combine that with the depression of the end of the NBA schedule, end of the NBA season. Just kind of took a couple of months off. I didn't plan to take too much time off from the UFC podcast, or any time off from the UFC podcast, but I ended up getting caught up in the mix. But lucky for all of us, here we are. And with no further ado, let's get into the show. All right, today we're going to have a quick and easy podcast. My guess is we're looking at about 15 minutes or something like that. Simple breakdown. 4 fights only on the main card. Seeing as it's free fights overall for the entire thing, a good majority of the undercard is just stuff that I'm not really terribly interested in talking about right now. But we do have 4 really good fights here in the main card. We're going to start with the first one to come up. It's in the bantamweight division. We have number 4, Jimmy Rivera, taking on number 9, Thomas Almeida. I think this is going to be a fucking excellent fight, honestly. Almeida's only loss in the UFC is to Cody Garbrandt last May, got knocked out in the first round. Certainly no disrespect there. Cody's the champ right now. He put a beat down on, Dominic Cruz. We've never really seen that happen before. Super interesting to see where Almeida goes from here. 22-1. He's got 17 knockouts. So 17 of this guy's 22 victories come from a bully beatdown. Throws heavy motherfucking hands. Obviously, a little bit of a tendency to get clipped himself with that loss to Cody. But dangerous striker. He trains out of Shoot to Box, Sao Paulo, same place as Anderson Silva, Vanderlei, that whole fucking crew. Brown belt in jiu-jitsu. He's pretty young. How old is he? 25 years old. Black belt in Muay Thai, though, so his striking is definitely going to be his forte. The jiu-jitsu, pretty much going to be a secondary factor, I would imagine. Not necessarily where he wants the game to go. His most recent fights, November 19th, he had a performance of the night victory over Albert Morales, a TKO in the second round. Before that, he lost to Cody last May. And before that, it was November 7th of 2015 was his last fight, where he knocked out Anthony Burchak in the first round. So not a ton of action lately. It's been, 8 months? 8 months since we've seen him in the cage. Definitely a longer layoff than you'd like to see for the majority of fighters, but you kind of get what you get. He's still a great prospect. Obviously, very dangerous. On the other side, Jimmy Rivera. He is sitting at 20-1. Just 4 knockouts under his belt out of the 20 victories, 2 submissions. A little bit of a decisionator, more of a karate style. I would say not nearly as much power as Tomas Almeida. Faster. But definitely going to be at a size disadvantage against Almeida here. I think Almeida's 5'7", a little bit longer reach. Jimmy Rivera coming in at 5'4", 65-inch reach. He's going to be the favorite, though. Rivera minus 190. Almeida a plus 165. Jimmy Rivera fighting out of Manhattan, the New York fight teams. So, how do we feel like this is going to go? Oh, yeah, and recent fights for Jimmy. September of last year, so he is looking at a 10-month layoff. He beat Uriah Faber by a unanimous decision there. And then January of last year, so Other than that Faber fight, his last fight was what? 18 months ago. Fight of the night on that one, beats Yuri Alcantara, unanimous decision. Split decision before that. In Brazil, beats Pedro Munoz, split decision in November. On the same card that Almeida beats Burchak in. Got to think that this fight probably favors Rivera. He's probably going to try to wrestle him the fuck up. He's been pretty dominant. He's extremely strong on the ground. He's been pretty dominant there. Pretty fast, like I said. But I do think that Thomas Almeida is probably going to have the majority of the advantage in the stand-up department. I like. If I had to pick here, I would say this is probably going to be a decision. We got a 3-round fight here. I like Jimmy Rivera, probably 3 rounds to 0, maybe 2-1, 29-28 or 30-27. Unanimous decision. I kind of see it as a little bit, maybe the first round or maybe the second round, depending on how well Almeida can stuff the takedowns. We'll see some good striking, but I would envision that we're going to see a 3rd round, somewhat dominated by Jimmy Rivera, probably in the wrestling game primarily. And then other than that, he'll have to win one of the other 2 rounds. His striking is also very good. Other than the KO factor, I would say it's just as good as Thomas Almeida's, maybe better. Like I said, he is ranked number 4. Almeida coming in at number 9. He is the favorite at a minus 190. I don't think that I would put money on either fighter as far as this is concerned. Almeida plus 165. Kind of think about that a little bit. Both fighters only have 1 loss, so there's not a lot to complain about as far as their resume is concerned for either of them. But I think I'm going to stay away from it. I might, if it can stretch out to a plus 180 or something like that, I might be more interested in it. Again, though, you also have to think that this is going to be a hometown fight. Not necessarily, but essentially New York City, Long Island, the same shit. For Jimmy Rivera, and this is going to be, Thomas Almeida, he's Brazilian. It's going to be a long bit of travel in order to come up for this fight. Definitely going to be an advantage for Jimmy Rivera right there, as far as that's concerned. And I would suppose that's actually probably the primary factor of why we're seeing him be such a heavy favorite there. I'm gonna lay off it though, as far as the gambling is concerned. Alrighty, and we move on to I should have mentioned that was the bantamweight division, but we move on to the light heavyweight division. We've got sort of some older homies. How did I not finish that either? All right, we have another New York fighter, John Vellante, the number 13 ranked light heavyweight, fighting out of Sierra Longo, Long Island MMA. Who else? Who gives a fuck? Anyway, he is taking on number 12 ranked light heavyweight, Pat motherfucking Cummins. Grappling standout, obviously wrestling standout. Pat is fighting at a King's MMA by way of Penn State Wrestling Program. Quite the amateur record there for Pat Cummins. John Vellante, favorite here at home, and a little bit better as of late. I guess you'd say so. The records don't necessarily prove to be so, but he's going to be a minus 170. Pat Cummins plus 145. Vellante's last fights, he lost to Shogun earlier this year in March, got TKO'd in the 3rd round. Not too bad. Shogun was definitely not favored, but he's a legend, one of the best kickboxers in the history of the UFC. Not too bad there. And then back in December, he knocked out Saparbek Safarov in the 2nd round. Fight of the night there. So good performance there. Last March, he took the L to Ilir Latifi, unanimous decision, and then just back and forth a little bit as of recently. A little bit of a checkered past. Definitely can box, or definitely can throw hands. Let's see. He's sitting at a record of 15-8, 10 knockouts. 2/3 of his wins come from a KO. Standing at 6'3", 76-inch reach. Fighting out of NYC, like I said. Let's see. And we're going to compare that to Mr. Cummins. Cummins' last fight beat Jan Blachowicz, majority decision back in April. Pretty good fight. Before that, 2 straight losses. One last May to Little Nog, got TKO'd in the first round, and then, 2 Novembers before that, he got TKO'd by Teixeira in the second round. He's bringing a record of only 9-4 in, 4 KOs, 2 subs, standing 6'2", 76.5-inch reach. So an inch shorter, half-inch longer on the arms, 36 years old, while Vellante is only 31, so it's going to be probably a pretty sizable advantage there for Jean Vellante. You basically, Cummins wants to take this fight to the ground. Jean Vellante is just a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Not entirely sure what Cummins is, but he's a very high-level grappler. Not in as good a shape as Vellante, and I think that might end up being part of what might be his downfall as far as this fight's concerned. Vellante in quite a bit better shape, and he has just a really good build to throw power. Pat Cummins has obviously been knocked out by Little Nog, who probably has less power at this point than Vellante. Maybe not. Teixeira definitely has quite a bit of power. But needless to say, Cummins has just been taking too many shots on the chin. I see this probably a KO for Jean Vellante if I had to pick. I would say maybe a second-round KO for Jean Vellante. First round, we'd probably see Cummins try to establish the takedown. He probably gets one. Probably controls pretty well, honestly. But I think that maybe Jean Vellante will have, he's got great coaching and stuff like that. I think that they'll be able to make the adjustments that are going to be necessary for him to open up some space, free up his hands a little bit, and probably get a knockout victory in that one right there. Minus 170, I don't think I like it. Plus 145 for Pat, I don't think I like that either. I think I would call Jean Vellante in the win, but it's just too much of a money line spread there for me to take action on that one. But go ahead and put me down for Jean Vellante on that. All right, moving on to the featherweight division. We have number 10, Dennis Bermudez, taking on number 12, Darren Elkins. Bermudez minus 195. Of course, he fights out of New York. Darren Elkins a plus 170, tough son of a bitch, fighting out of Team Alpha Male. Elkins has won at least 4 straight. In March, he knocked out Mirsad Bektic. A KO from a punches and a head kick, actually. Back in last July, he won a unanimous decision over Godofredo Pepe. Unanimous decision over Chas Skelly in March. And then 2 Octobers ago, he had a unanimous decision win over Robert Whiteford. 22-5 record, only 8 KOs. But for the featherweight division, that's really not that bad. 3 submissions. Standing at 5'10", 71-inch reach. Pretty big guy for the 145. 33 years old, though. Isn't getting any younger. Brown belt in the jiu-jitsu game. As far as Bermudez, he is coming off his most recent fight, a loss to the Korean Zombie. He got knocked out in the first round back in February. Before that, he had a unanimous decision victory over Honey Jason last August. February before that, a unanimous decision victory over Tatsuya Kawajiri. And then a knockout to Jeremy Stevens 2 August ago, or two Julys ago, basically 2 years from, 2 years from now. He's going back and forth a little bit. 16-6 record for him, just 4 KOs, definitely not a power there. 3 submissions for him. 5'6", so a 4-inch reach advantage for Darren Elkins. A 4-inch height advantage, for Elkins. A 5-inch reach advantage for Elkins. 30 years old only for Dennis Bermudez. His advantage is he's fighting out of New York City. Very good wrestler on his part. Darren Elkins more of a traditional scrappy MMA-style fighter. All right, now that the stats are out the fucking way, what do I think is going to happen? This is going to be a good fight also. Don't expect a knockout. I really don't know who I'm going to call here. I like the idea of Darren Elkins. I like how big he is. I like how game he is. He doesn't really get beat much. He's on obviously at least a 4-fight win streak. I guess I could look that up further. But to me, that's pretty fucking impressive. A plus 170 also is not a bad... Well, I mean, it's pretty good. I don't know. If it goes a little further than that, I might take it. Other than that, I'm not entirely sure who I like in this